Hey everybody, Ms. Dietrich here. We're taking a look at a division problem and how you might use a number line to model a division problem. The division problem we're looking at is 2 3/4 divided by 1 3/8. Now the dividend is always the thing that we're breaking up into equal groups. So I have that modeled here with a green line. And the reason why we're using eighths is because we're breaking it up into eighths. So we need a common denominator. And if we rethink 2 3/4 as something eighths, 2 3/4 would be equal to 22 eighths. So if we just turn this into an improper fraction, let's see how many fourths that would be equal to. This is 4 times 2, which is 8, and then the 3 more would make that 11. And if we compare, these two fractions with each other, right, this 22 eighths, if we were going to simplify this, right, we would divide by 2, and we would divide by 2. So it's equal. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, let me put this back, and then we can delete this now that we sort of understand that. All right, so that's represented with the green line. 11/4 or 22 eighths are equal to each other. All right, now we have to identify 1 3/8 chunks. Now, the strategy for that is to rethink this as an improper fraction as well. So that's going to be equal to 11 eighths. And let's look at 11 eighths right here. Okay, 11 eighths in the red box. See, all the way to 11 eighths. Now I have a couple of these boxes that are the same size, and let's see how many groups of 11 eighths we get. And it's perfect. It equals 2. So the answer is 2. Now let's talk about how we might do the standard algorithm to get the answer of 2. We would keep the divisor, change this to multiplication, and flip this to its reciprocal. Keep the divisor, change the division to multiplication, flip the divisor to its reciprocal. Right, and then if we just go ahead and follow the rules for multiply, we might cross-reduce here, pre-reduce, divide both of these by 11 and get a 1 and a 1. And both of these are divisible by 4. Divide by 4 and get 1. Divide by 4 and get 2. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. And 2 divided by 1 is 2. So the answer is 2. But we already knew that because the model shows that we have two groups of 11 eighths. Now this, by the way, there's two types of division. There's one type where we're figuring out how many groups, and there's another type where we're figuring out how much is in each group. Did you know that if we reverse these two things, let me erase because I was hoping that equal sign would stay where it is, but we can talk about it in the context of if we divide 2 3/4 divided by 1 3/8, did you know that we would get, or I'm sorry, I meant to put a 2 there. If we put a 2 here, if we took this and divided it by 2 groups, 2 3/4 divided by 2 groups is 1 3/8 per group. This is the other type of division. So the first type of division tells you how many groups represented in the red box. The other type of division, called partitive division, if we break up the amount we have and we know how many groups and we want to know how much is in each group, we'd get 1 3/8. So these two things can be interchanged, but do know that if we multiply the quotient times the divisor, we should get the dividend. Quotient times the divisor, quotient times the divisor gives us the dividend as a check. Now if we look at the same number line and change it up, and maybe even model a completely different question. So let's move these boxes out of the way and delete them. And we don't have a lot of time, but perhaps we can just look at something like 10 eighths, right? If we're going to take 10 eighths, and break that up into equal groups of, how about we do 2 eighths? So here's a group of 2 eighths. Here's a group of 2 eighths, here's a group of 2 eighths, here's a group, and here's a group. So we would end up getting 5. Now as a check, if we did 5 times 2 eighths, we should get 10 eighths as a check. 5 times 2 eighths equals 10 eighths.